coming in live. Hi everyone, this is Chycho. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another live stream. Today is August 16th, 2021, and we're doing stream number 2 for today. Part 4 of 4 for the last 2 days, and number 6 of 6 for the last 3 days. And today's live stream, the last one for this set, is Julian Assange's The World Tomorrow, an open discussion, part 4 of 4. And this is basically us watching episodes of Julian Assange's World Tomorrow that they put out back in 2012, and there's 12 episodes, and so far we have we've done well. MC Mike, how you doing? Finally caught the beginning of the live stream. Also, MC Mike. And we've done 3 live streams regarding The World Tomorrow. We've watched 5 episodes so far, and we're gonna knock off 2 more in this stream. So when all is said and done, unless we only watch one for this stream, all said and done, we would have watched either 6 or 7 out of 12, which is not bad in a couple of days. And there's been a lot of discussion about current events, specifically regarded surrounding Afghanistan and some other things as well. And we've talked about those things, and we will be uploading these full live streams to CensorTube, because I told myself I draw the line when it comes to censorship on CensorTube regarding Julian Assange. So we will upload everything that we discuss about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Censors be damned. If we get knocked out, we get knocked out. It is what it is. We are on 3 other video sharing platforms, and I'll pop these up. Boop. So this full stream will be uploaded to CensorTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and this is the 4th one of 4. I'm assuming we're still going to go on, fly under the radar as censors, but you never know. Things are heating up, so they might start pressing a button, go to nuclear option, the way centralized power in the Western world does. When it comes to, if they cannot occupy a nation, they destroy a nation, right? They go scorched earth mentality, which is the same principle as nuking. Basically what the technocrats have been doing from Google, CensorTube, Twitter, Facebook, the technocratic sites. What they've been doing scorched earth, the nuclear option, basically burning down their own platforms by deplatforming people to try to silence us. It is what it is, gang. It is what it is. As we said, WikiLeaks and Julian Assange provided the transparency, and it is up to us to provide the accountability of capital as power. Okay, aside from that, I'm gonna go through my little intro. We've done these, I guess, how many times now? 5 times. This is the 6th time we're doing this intro. I should double that, because we do an outro too usually. But if you want to know what this is about, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/chycho, CHYCHO. If you want to support this work, if you want to know what this work is about, which is basically layered on mathematics, you can follow the work on Patreon. You can support the work on Patreon. Everything's Creative Commons. Share and share alike. Okay. And for those of you that are supporting this work on Patreon, there's a handful of you that have been there for a very long time. Gang, thank you very much for the support. It is in large part because of your support that we're able to do this, and I appreciate it very much. We are live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/chycho live, CHYCHOLIVE. If you want to participate in the chat, which pops up here, Twitch is where you want to be at. And for those of you that are supporting this work on Twitch, following, commenting, coming up to the live streams, sharing, subscribing, bits and points and all that jazz, gang, thank you very much for the support. And mods, thank you for taking care of business and for having our back. I do announce these live streams 30 minutes before we go live on Minds, VK, Gab, Parler, BitClout, and Getter. That's 6 platforms there for shout outs, right? New tech, and we do have a Discord page. You can come to our Twitch channel anytime you want. Type in !Discord, and the I spelled it wrong. I should spell it right. !Discord, and the link will pop up there. We have a few hundred people that are on our Discord page sharing information. You're definitely welcome to join us there and share information. Yummy Dummy 23, would you say you are more focused on mathematics or decentralization? Am I more focused on mathematics or decentralization? I have probably, I don't know how many videos we've got. I really don't. I think it's over 1,300 videos we have online on CensorTube. At least 500 of those are about mathematics. So because of that, I would say definitely mathematics, right? Because everything I'm doing is centered around mathematics. The way we are able to obtain decentralization is through mathematics, right? The way we get anonymity and privacy is through mathematics, right? The way we get equitable, if you want to use that word, commerce, trade, barter, right, business is through mathematics. The way we understand the world around us, maybe geopolitics or local politics, is through mathematics. So mathematics is a foundation of what I'm doing. So definitely mathematics. Anti-socialist behavior, how are you doing? Long time, chycho. Funny enough, I found from a content creator on Instagram an old Guardian article from October 2001 saying the Bush flat out refused to entertain an offer from the Taliban, to discuss the turnover of bin Laden to the US if they, one, proved he was involved, and two, stop bombing Afghanistan. 100%, right? The invasion of Afghanistan did not have to happen. The Taliban turned to the United States and stated, give us proof that Osama bin Laden was involved in 9/11 and we will gladly hand them over, right? The Bush administration refused because the plans to invade Afghanistan were set in motion during the Clinton administration, not during the Bush administration. They just tag team each other, by the way. Those of you who are in the United States, if you haven't figured out yet, there's only one party in your country that governs you, and they just put on little different puppets, different colors, right? Democrat, Republican, they tag team each other and they get the agenda of the centralized power done, right? But the Taliban offered. Now just imagine how many hundreds of thousands of lives would have been saved, how many trillions of dollars of US taxpayer would have been saved, how many American soldiers' lives would have been saved, how many American soldiers would not have been maimed, the suicide rate would have dropped. Just imagine. Now what are you gonna do about it? All right. For live streams where we don't have any visuals, we do upload the audio to soundcloud.com/chycho, chycho, as a podcast, and those podcasts should be available on your favorite podcasting platform, including Spotify and iTunes. Cron Alan Scott, yo chycho, haven't been here in a while but love the content. Thank you. And I think I mentioned to you this as well. Our previous cat that we used to have, his name was Cron, for chronic. Neutral Boys, hello. Can I ask about your title? Are you more of a Julian Assange supporter personally, or WikiLeaks in general? WikiLeaks is the platform. WikiLeaks is I mean, they're sort of joined at the hips, but if either is eliminated, I still will support whichever one's left over. So they're sort of joined the hip. Julian Assange is the creator of WikiLeaks. I'm pro transparency of power. The more power an institution or individual has, the more transparent they must be. Okay, end of story. That's the way it should be. Elder God, mathematics is my method of understanding. Yeah, me too, Elder God, me too. Antisocial behavior, the party of Baal. Yeah, 100%. Lark Bark, how are we doing? Ichicho, welcome back. You too, you too. Anti-socialist behavior, 2.26 trillion, or around 40 million per dead Taliban fighter. I would say it's probably way more than that. 2.26 trillion. I thought it was 6 trillion, but even it would be even more than 6 trillion, right? Anybody figured out what the bill, what the cost of the weapons is that they left there? How many $billion was that? They just, US taxpayers pays for them. Wall Street takes the money. Thank you very much, right? Thank you very much. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, and all the, thank you very much, US taxpayer, for giving us money to supply our soldiers with high-tech weaponry, right? And we're gonna fill it up in Afghanistan, put it all there, and then we're gonna leave and give it all to the Taliban. So how do Americans, US taxpayer money being spent to arm the Taliban again? Okay. Neutral boy, 6 trillion might include Iraq war or without Iraq war. I can't remember now. The numbers just are absurd anyway. They really don't mean anything. We looked at this regarding the M2 numbers, right? Where the Federal Reserve, the 6 trillion, I think, is what the Federal Reserve put out, made available this year. We got a video out there saying if you want to understand current events, just look at what's going on with the M number, M1 number, I guess, or M2 number, right? And it's an hour and a half video, almost 2 hour live stream that we did, and we went through all the things, right? The numbers now are completely irrelevant. The US federal debt right now is 18 trillion, and they're estimating by the end of the year, they're gonna, or within a year, it's going to be up to 28 trillion dollars deficit, right? Holy shite, man. Student debt is approaching 2 trillion, right? These numbers have become completely irrelevant now. Inflation, official inflation, is at 5.5% for the last 2 months, right? That's official inflation. You can bet your ass it's closer to 15 to 20%, right? So we're in a hyperinflationary, not hyperinflationary, but a seriously inflationary stagflation era. It's insane what's going on, right? That's why the numbers don't mean anything anymore, right? National debt is already 20 trillion. Is it already 20 trillion? Yeah, that's where I get my numbers all mixed up. There's so many trillions coming out the chute that it's hard to keep track of, right? It's hard to keep track of. Apple is worth 2.5 trillion. Microsoft is worth over 2 trillion, right? Now, who in their right mind thinks Apple is really worth 2.5 trillion dollars, right? Maybe based on the fiat currency, right? Maybe there's already plans to hand over the world to these technocrats, right? WikiLeaks provides the transparency. We need to provide the accountability. And on that note, as I said earlier in the stream, we will be uploading this live stream to SensorTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. And gang, thank you very much for the support on all these platforms. It is because of the collective support we're getting on these platforms that we're able to do what it is that we are doing. Let's take these guys down. US federal debt to GDP ratio 126%. Boom, boom, bam. Apple isn't worth anything in my eyes. No, it's not. It's actually negative. It's poison. It's a liability to society. That's what Apple is, right? Disclaimer: family has puts on Apple. Jessica, hot jams. I would never use an Apple product. Yuck, yuck. Like, unbelievable. And if you have an Apple product, make sure you have not updated to the newest software, and even the previous software is not good. You need to be Apple a few generations ago, okay? But as a stock, do you think Apple is profitable? I have few Apple stocks. but literally, seriously, neutral boys. Disclaimer: family has puts on Apple. That's my take on it, right? I may be, family may be foolish, right? But when you see bullshit, just because everyone has been mesmerized to look at this bullshit, this crap, and go, this must be the prophecy, this must be the Holy Land, right? Because it is a cult. Apple is a cult, right? It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Okay. Antisocial behavior, chycho. Do you see a national divorce of the United States as part of the decentralization necessary to overcome the machine? Within 10 years, I'm on Martin Armstrong's mindset, right? And he's an economist, and he's been pretty bang on regarding certain events. Within 10 years, there is a possibility of balkanization of the United States of America. Lark Bark, free Assange. MC Mike, when do the masses start rounding up these misleaders like Santa Claus, Dr. Fauci, kill? Here's a kicker, MC Mike. There is the very likely possibility that the masses that have been hypnotized might be rounding up other people, not their masters, right? Free Assange, gang. Let's talk about Julian Assange, because Julian Assange, the fate of Julian Assange, what is happening to Julian Assange as the world watches, especially those so-called progressives and woke people and the liberals and those who walk around handing flowers to people and try to improve the environment and talk about equality and all this, but they don't see, they don't realize they've been hypnotized, because I don't see millions of people marching in defense of Julian Assange, especially that crowd, right? The anti-war people, the peace-loving people. I don't see them moving their asses because maybe they've been hypnotized, brainwashed by the technocrats to believe that their Apple product is their freedom, right? But Julian Assange's fate, what is happening to Julian Assange, consider it the canary in the coal mine. What the centralized power is being allowed to do to Julian Assange, they can do to anyone. What they are doing to the most important publisher and journalist the world has seen, literally. He has released more information, brought more transparency of capitalist power than any other journalist or publisher in history. In history, probably combined, right? The most important journalist and publisher in the world is being crucified in real time, and there are people mesmerized, hypnotized to point a finger and say their neighbor is the enemy, right? This is why we're doing these Julian Assange live streams and taking a look at the work that they produce, because the fate of Julian Assange is our fate. We are Julian Assange, if you want to accept it or not, right? We're going hardcore on this last one. Nice. Meta Dragons, I'm gonna sit this one out, but we'll be catching the VOD. Have a wonderful stream, everyone. You too, Meta Dragons. Chill. Cheryl, it is possible to be both. I didn't read the it is possible to be both. I missed it. Jessica Hot Jams, missed the discussion on Julian Assange. There is massive support for Julian's release here in the UK. The mainstream media has been very negative, almost jealous in its coverage of his situation. Our current government will not release him despite pressure from the public and the opposition government. For sure, there is support in the UK, because if UK hands over Julian Assange, UK has proven itself to be a complete puppet regime, okay, and that's all it is. And this will be the end of anything resembling even remotely powerful United Kingdom. It will be a lapdog. It will be laughed upon globally, that it is just a mini puppet that is being dangled around, right? Because it destroys everything that justice represents, right? That being said, when you say there's a lot of support, you don't need, or there's massive support. I didn't see not even not thousands, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. You need, in the UK, you need minimum, beginning with tens of thousands of people shutting the system down and getting Julian Assange out of jail. You need hundreds of thousands of people into the streets demanding his release. Julian Assange, if citizens of the UK can free Julian Assange, the world, that will be the catalyst for the world to begin to go in a positive direction. If the UK is allowed to hand over Julian Assange to the US, that is Western society's fate, okay, is sealed for the next 2 decades. Be prepared if that is the case. Okay, elder God, I'm watching a film about the Nazis in Norway, the useful idiots in action. Yeah, I've seen a few of those and read a few things about them, and we're living in those times. Lark Bark, there's a reason why liberal begins with an L, because they're absolutely liars. It's incredible. Omnafet, pronunciation of your name hurts, man. I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna say I keep on doing this. Getting online, be right back. Into kitchen and sitting down for take a lesson. Awesome. Sleepy Wave Chycho, what's the last video you watched in the previous stream? What's the last video you watched in the previous stream? It was the Occupy one, Sleepy Waves. It was number I'm just scrolling down. Where is the Occupy one? Oh, come on, I skipped it. Oh, there it is. Occupy movement, episode number 7. That was the last one we watched. We watched 2 in the last stream, by the way, and we watched part 2 of the cipher of punks, right? All excess past. Oh, that's an interesting name. Oh, we still eating blueberries, or we going into different snacks this time? We're going into I'm at the end of my pastries. I got one little guy left, eating mom's pastries again. Yeah, with chycho jam and mom pastries. I went and visited family, and I came back with a container of pastries. This is fantastic pastries. I know how to make this, but my mom makes the best. During a live stream, I will show you guys how to make this. I haven't made it for a few years because my mom's is the best, right? There are things that I cook better than my mom, though. They're all lying to you. The liberals know more than the conservatives. Yeah, indeed. Throw this in again. What is this one? That's So Julian. Oh yeah, that's right, That's So Julian. We did a comic book reading of an artist in Portugal. Okay, an artist in Portugal, I believe, either Portugal or Spain. I think it was Portugal. He did a comic book called That's So Julian, and he put that out last year, a couple of years ago, and he sent me a copy, and we did a reading of it, and I bought some extra copies from him. Okay, so there's a comic book that he put out, independent comic book creator, and he did a fantastic job with it. Jessica Hot Jams, recently the UK Health Secretary, who was in charge of a COVID etc., Matt Hancock, was caught on secret camera, exposed and fired. Yeah, he was one that was having an affair with his secretary, right? The government's response: make a new anti-whistleblower law with maximum 14-year sentence. And indeed, the law that was passed in the UK regarding anybody that criticizes basically the government, by the UK, you just became China. Okay, that is China level, Iran level. This is actually worse than Iran. There are journalists that can actually criticize the Iranian government. You became worse than Iran. You're North Korea level right now. Any journalist that questions, basically that's the way they can use it, questions the official statements from the UK government, can be thrown in jail for 14 years. Holy shit, right? That should give you insight into our current UK conservative government. Yeah, I know it well, Jessica. It's effing frightening. In 1984, yeah, throw in Brazil in there, put in V for Vendetta, right? And you got present UK. What are you guys gonna do about it? Joe Chycho, most people here in the UK probably don't even know his name. Yeah, that's the feel I get from it. There's a handful of hardcore people that are supporting Julian Assange, but where are the rest of the people? Right? Same with Canada. A lot of people, a lot of friends I had here in Canada, they bought into the so-called liberals. Like, it makes me want to vomit, to tell you the truth. Most of them, actually, not most of them, but a handful of them actually bought into the Russiagate BS. And as soon as I would say Julian Assange, oh, he's Russiagate, he's a Russian agent, I'm like, you guys are just over the top, some of the dumbest SOBs I've ever met in my life, right? Nice people, I still consider them friends, but man, be careful. Stupid enemy, stupid. It's better to have intelligent enemies than stupid friends, because stupid friends walk a fine line of fascism, and when the state tells them to point the finger towards you, for the state, for the centralized capitalist power to take you to the concentration camps, they will do it because they're stupid, right? Just letting you know that. Just letting you know that. And no, these ones are not gluten-free. Oh my god, these ones got gluten and butter. These guys got gluten, butter, gluten, butter, and sugar, and a little bit of fruit up top, plum, because I made the jam. I know what I made, right? I'm not sure that neutral boy. When you say family bought this stock or sold this, do you mean your own family, and are they experienced in the field? This should be it shouldn't matter who they are. As far as experience goes, some of the most experienced people that have done trading have lost some of the most amount of money, and some of the most novice people, when it comes to trading, they have made the most amount of money. Some experience, some not. Okay, that would be a great band name, Chycho. Jam and the Mums Pastry, Jam and Mums Pastries. Awesome, it would be an awesome band name. MC Mike, hey Chycho, what's your opinion on Maxime Bernier in Canada? Would you trust him, or is he a bought and paid for globalist puppet as controlled opposition or something else? You know what, he's on the same level as Harper. I don't trust him. Period. Harper was a piece of shit, globalist, Zionist, crap. Canada should have been on the forefront of the on an economic level in regards to legalization, ending prohibition, and Harper just annihilated, threw Canada back a decade in regards to that innovation, right? Disruptive innovation that was worth hundreds of billions of dollars, right? So just gut it, right? Unbelievable. Okay, economically they devastated Canada. Socially, they devastated Canada. What the Harper government did, the Conservatives did with Canada, will take about 4 decades to undo, if it can ever be undone. So anyone that's running for the Conservatives, Maxime Bernier, or the Liberals, they're the same crap, right? They're just tag teaming each other. It's like the Democrats and the Republicans, the Conservatives and the Liberals, right? Maxime Bernier gives his full support to Israel, last time I checked, and to me that's a no-go zone, right? Basically it means they're okay with, open air prisons and taking over imperialism and stuff like this, right? That doesn't work out. Oh, nice, thanks Elder God. The link there is us reading that comic book. King Canada Live, I watched Children of Men 2 nights ago, and wow, does it ever feel like that's the direction we are headed in? Great movie, by the way, and yeah, feels that way, doesn't it? Lark Bark, the Young Turks said that crap about Julian Assange, that he's a Russiagate. Yeah, and one of the people that I was arguing with, he said, oh, I'm informed, I read the Guardian and I watch the Young Turks. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I went off on both of those sources for news, right? News propaganda, and I didn't hold back. I did hold back. I'm going more hard here than I was on him. I did not appreciate it very much, right? Jessica Hot Jams, chycho, do you know the gal who leaked the documents and the collateral damage video to Julian Assange? Chelsea Manning, you mean, has been a Twitch streamer for some time. Yeah, it's Chelsea Manning. And Chelsea Manning, I've automatically host two channels. One of them is Action for Assange, and the other one is Chelsea Manning. Whenever she comes online to stream, I host it on my Twitch channel as well. Those are the only two. And I started hosting her as soon as she got on Twitch. Like within days, I found out she was on Twitch. I was like, oh damn, auto host, right? Right on for her. Right on for Chelsea. She deserves it. Right? She deserves. She has thousands of followers now on Twitch, which is fantastic. Anti-socialist behavior. I've been watching the John Adams docudrama on HBO, and a quote that he made in the court of Madame Helvintis while on assignment to Paris really stuck with me. Quote, I study war and politics so that my children may study mathematics and philosophy, and I hope that one day their children may have the right to study poetry and painting. That's an end quote. That's an amazing quote. That's an amazing quote. That is fantastic. I'm going to read that again. I study war and politics so that my children may study mathematics and philosophy, and I hope that one day their children may have the right to study poetry and painting. What an amazing world it would be if that was the motto of the world, right? And studying war and politics should, I would have said I study economics and politics, because war is a byproduct of our current totalitarian inverted totalitarian states, right? So economics, politics lead to mathematics and philosophy, lead to poetry, painting, right? And gang, don't forget, free Assange, free Assange, free Assange. Julian Assange is a publisher and journalist that is being crucified for trying to bring transparency and accountability of capitalist power to humanity, something that humanity, our society, desperately needs. For more information, see wikileaks.org, defend.wikileaks.org, or our Julian Assange and WikiLeaks playlist on CensorTube. Elder God. Informed means indoctrinated. Yeah, centralized education system, right? Larkbark, oh my god, seriously, the Young Turks and the Guardian. Yeah, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, damn, Chelsea Manning is terrific. Gang, here is the playlist. I'll provide it in link in the chat. We're gonna watch at least one episode. So which one do you guys want to watch? Okay, we've already watched the second episode. We've watched, actually I wouldn't mind watching the fifth episode, surviving Guantanamo, because pretty important, right? That is Julian, like seriously. So we've watched the second episode. We've watched episode number 7, 8, 9, which is 8 part 2, and we've watched episode 10. So we watched 5 of them so far. Which one would you guys like to watch? I'm going to bring chat up so I see it. I'm on the playlist right now. Yes, Guantanamo. Let's watch 5. You're back, Deep Flake. How are you doing? Gitmo the truth. Gitmo this. Let's do it. We're going to episode 5. I'm going to cue this up. Oh, come on. Okay, that should be, yeah, there it is. Okay, let me cue this up. Okay, don't start. Take it easy. Oh man, jeez Louise. Let's put this up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my angle here. Take off that. Okay, and we're going to be watching this episode number 5, which is Julian Assange's World Tomorrow, Surviving Guantanamo, episode number 5, and it's a 12 episode series. Like seriously, as far as I'm concerned, the number of views here should be 5 million, if not 50 million, instead of 60,000, right? Unbelievable, unbelievable, right? Sensor tube, sensor tube. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take chat off our screen, blink, and it's going to pop up down here, right? And I'm going to take, I already took that video off, and I'm going to turn on the audio for the computer. I'm going to take off my audio. I'm just going to check chat Speedy Gonzalez style just to make sure there isn't anything I'm missing. I went fine with detoxing over the time for social media, and the result is that the player base just gets smaller, and in the same time there's less useless stuff to do. I am okay with that. Haha. I take my place. Okay, gang, I'm turning we're gonna turn off my audio, and I'll turn it back on after this half an hour segment.
I'm Julian Assange.
Roger, I'll get you in constraint.
Editor of WikiLeaks. We've exposed the world's secrets.
These documents belong to the United States government.
Been attacked by the powerful.
The United States strongly condemns.
Hey, quit asking questions.
He broke the law. Illegally shoot the son of a...
For 500 days now, I've been detained without charge. But that hasn't stopped us.
Mike Peck.
Today, we're on a quest for revolutionary ideas that can change the world tomorrow. This week, I have two visitors. Mozambique was imprisoned for years in Guantanamo as an Al-Qaeda suspect. After pressure from the UK, he was released without charge in 2005. Together with Asim Qureshi, a former corporate lawyer, he now campaigns for other war on terror detainees with the organization Cage Prisoners. The rule of law and due process are central to their campaign, and I want to know how this fits in with Sharia law. If the Muslim people formed a superstate, what would the legal system look like? When you were in Guantanamo, you signed a confession. I was armed and prepared to fight alongside the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, against the US and others, and eventually retreated to Tora Bora to flee from US forces when our front lines collapsed. I knowingly provided comfort and assistance to Al-Qaeda members by housing their families, helped distribute Al-Qaeda propaganda, and received members from terrorist camps knowing that certain trainees could become Al-Qaeda operatives and commit acts of terrorism against the United States. So that language, is that how you normally speak?
No, I don't normally speak like that.
This sounds like it comes from a statute book.
Yeah. What brought me to the point where I would sign something like this was being tied up with my hands behind my back to my legs, with a hood placed over my head, being punched and kicked, listening to the sound of a woman screaming next door, I'm told, or led to believe is my wife, my children's pictures being waved in front of me, and being asked by these interrogators, when do you think you're going to see them again? What do you think happened to them the night that we took you from them? Where do you think they are right now? Well, all of these inferences, which clearly suggested to me that the only way out is to either give up and sign whatever it is that they want me to do, or to resist and to hell with what happens to my family. So that was the stark choice that I was presented with. And in the light of that, of course, yeah, I signed it.
Yeah. So when you got out, you joined Cage Prisoners and fought for people that you had known in Guantanamo and elsewhere to be released or treated with due process. And so now we have this sort of rather incredible position where we discovered a WikiLeaks US Embassy cable from 2010 about you. And this is from the US Embassy in Luxembourg, writing back to Washington. You had been in Luxembourg campaigning for Luxembourg to take Guantanamo Bay detainees. Mr. Begg is doing our work for us. His articulate reasoned presentation makes for a convincing argument. It is ironic that after 4 years of imprisonment and alleged torture, Mozambique is delivering the same message to the government of Luxembourg as we are. Please consider accepting Gitmo detainees for resettlement. How does that make you feel that the Obama administration now sees you as their ambassador?
Well, it doesn't do a great deal for my street credibility, as it were. But suffice to say that if the words of the US ambassador had been taken, that would be one thing, but I'm pretty certain that I'm still regarded as an enemy combatant.
Let's talk about this extreme targeting. So cage prisoners' role is to try and try and get prisoners released, or at least have due process for them, to advocate on their behalf. But now we see the US administration is using drone strikes to kill Muslim radicals around the world. Is cage prisoners out of a job? Because, you know, you imprison someone in Guantanamo Bay, they become a political problem. Yeah. If you kill them, they're a political problem just at the point of death, but afterwards, no man, no problem.
We wish that we were out of a job. I mean, we'd love to be out of a job. And this is the sort of thing that every day when you're dealing with cases, they are very painful to deal with as individuals and as and the family members of people we're advocating for. I used to say that Bush was the president under whom extrajudicial detention was taking place, and Obama is the president under whom extrajudicial killing is taking place. So Obama did promise a change. Remember, he said a change has come to America, and this is it. The change is from extrajudicial detention to extrajudicial killing.
Asim, in a 2006 rally, you said, in quite a fiery language, when we see our brothers and sisters fighting in Chechnya, Iraq, Palestine, Kashmir, Afghanistan, then we know where the example lies. When we see Hezbollah defeating the armies of Israel, we know what the solution is and where the victory lies. We know it is incumbent upon us, all of us, to support the jihad of our brothers and sisters in these countries, wherever they are facing oppression by the West. I saw that video, and to me it looks like a fiery Muslim preaching jihad. Why did you say this statement?
Well, I mean, this comes in the context of the Israelis having bombed Kana, and they killed masses of civilians there. This is in 2006. Now, I mean, what you have to understand is that, as far as Muslims are concerned, at the moment, they are under attack in countries, all over the world. There are, hundreds and thousands of people dying. And effectively, our concept of jihad, at least in its current iteration, is that, as Muslims, we have the right to defend ourselves. There is, no point of saying that, these people are being killed, that there's alien occupation, colonial domination, racism taking place, and that these people, they shouldn't be allowed to defend themselves, that they should just keep them being slapped and killed and raped, and that they're not allowed to defend.
And defense here means military resistance.
Of course, and all of these countries should be allowed to. I mean, that's not the full speech, and I talk within that speech as well about how we, as Muslims in the UK, should be supporting, these people by lobbying, by campaigning, by effectively trying our best to support them, and I very much believe that it's part of our obligation to do so. I mean, the point is it's not about conflict being the solution, and that's something that we advocate against ourselves, myself particularly. I don't believe that violence is the solution, that dialogue is the only solution. However, at the same time, I believe that everybody has the right to defend themselves.
But what about this defense, Belsan, as an example, in Chechnya, this attack on the school? Of course. 300-something people died. I mean, there were all sorts of military problems in Chechnya, the local population, the Russians. That is a type, they would say, those Chechen terrorists, that they were defending Chechnya in that manner. But I mean, is that type of defence a defence that you accept?
It's not something that I agree with myself. I don't think Islamically that it's the right way about doing things. I don't live in those circumstances. I can't Islamically, jurisprudentially make a statement about anything because I'm not a Muslim scholar. I have disagreements with the way Al-Qaeda uses its tactics around the world. I don't think it's productive in terms of what the end goal it's trying to achieve. But at the same time, the general concept, and this is what I was talking about in that speech, is that people have a right to defend themselves, and they should not be denied that right simply because America believes that it it holds all the moral authority in the world, and that's the point that
I think there's an interesting point to be made just about jihad, because it's this term that's so used so blatantly and without people really understanding what it is. And we supported jihad. Let's just admit this. The British government brought over Mujahideen fighters in the 70s and the 80s, trained them by the SAS in Snowdon. Britain supported jihad again just a few months ago when they were supporting Mujahideen fighters who called themselves Mujahideen in Libya against Gaddafi. So you've got this play with words within the media to say, well, jihad is bad except for when we say it is. And this is the sort of thing that we, as cage prisoners, as an organisation that's Muslim, like to introduce and explain to people that you're being hoodwinked by the politicians and the media when they use this term about belief system.
So now I'd like to give two tricky questions.
Mm-hmm.
What did Bush do right? You know, he would argue that there were no terrorist attacks of any significance on the mainland of the United States post-2001. And how did he achieve that? Well, if I was arguing his side, I would say he achieved that by all sorts of surveillance, preventative detention, terrorizing people, absolutely terrorizing people, with examples of Guantanamo Bay, detention without trial, arbitrary execution, etc.
I think in your answer to your question, what did Bush do right? I don't know if he did anything right in terms of the war on terror. There was a Bush prior to that, and interesting, you've got some Al-Qaeda type scholars in Saudi Arabia who've actually said that we supported you coming to power. That's interesting. That they actually said that we were happy when you came to power. You seemed to be a person who was of the same mind as us. And then, of course, he said the famous
Wahhabi
words.
scholars.
Yes. He said that this crusade is going to take a while. And once he said that, everything went wrong from that point onwards.
What about bin Laden? What did bin Laden do right?
Well, if you take a look at what he did at the time when the Soviets occupied Afghanistan and the Americans were supporting him, he did everything right from that point onwards. He did everything right because he was being supported by the West, and that was the evidence for it. What he did wrong...
I don't mean what the West believes. I mean, what do you believe?
I know. And I think that was right too. I think that was right for the Afghans to be able to liberate themselves with the support of everybody who was helping them was absolutely right. But as far as the ordering of the attacks, if that's what he did, and that's still, I don't know, in my mind, it's not been established because he didn't have due process. If that's what he did, it was wrong because it started a chain reaction that we've not been able to recover from since. But
why do you think that he, as a leader, why was he successful?
I don't know if he was a leader, first of all. I mean, I think that the perpetuating myth of Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb and then Europe and all of the Al-Qaeda franchises were all part of, well, if you're going to say we're Al-Qaeda, we'll be Al-Qaeda. But I don't think it really existed in the way that we've been told, and there's a great myth about how big it was and its reaches. As a person, as a figurehead for people, people simply saw, if you go in the Muslim world, the attitudes are different. Most of them don't agree with 9/11, they don't agree with targeting civilians, and there's been a great deal of that taking place in the Muslim world, so they don't agree with that at all.
What was the view in the Muslim world about him before 9/11? Was he well known?
I don't think he was. I don't think he was greatly known. I think, if anything, in the Gulf countries and those people who'd been part of the struggle, the fight against the jihad against the Soviets, he was known in that circle of people, definitely, because of his personal sacrifice and his integrity and all of the things that he'd done, which you would not expect a billionaire to do. But after that, I think his influence has been... it's been seen for something greater than it really is. People were going to... It wasn't... The United States didn't just attack Osama bin Laden. They didn't just go after him. They went after nations, and they killed tens of thousands of people in the process. So bin Laden may have come and gone. It's irrelevant, because those symptoms that bin Laden was addressing are still there.
How would you primarily describe yourselves? As Muslims, as liberationists, as people who like rule of law processes, as intellectuals? What?
All of the above.
I don't think some of those things don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive to one another. You know, being Muslim means standing up for justice. It means being a little bit radical. It also means being a little bit conservative. You know, it means all of those things at the same time. You know, God says in the Quran that be just even if it goes against yourself. You know, that's a very, very important, part of who we are, what our character is, that, even if it meant effectively having to give evidence against ourselves in some way, that we would always do what was most just in any circumstance. That's how we formulate our characters. Justice is, in many ways, more important than many other things. But you can still make a difference.
In struggling for individuals' liberation from imprisonment and being imprisoned yourself, and the struggle for a people's liberation, a group of people, their liberation, do you think this is incompatible with submission to a god?
You're in Britain, and thus you have to deal with other wills of other people and other governments to submit to.
Oh, and I find it I find it extremely disconcerting and annoying. But,
right.
But don't you find it annoying to submit to the will of God?
Well, we all have, we're human beings, we have to submit to something. We all have to submit to some kind of law all the time. And I think my point is about the Muslim world in particular, and not about the West here. The West has nothing to worry about in terms of us communities living here. We understand the rules and the regulations, and we submit to them, even if we don't like it in some cases. But we're talking about in the Muslim world, I think that's really important to recognize that right across from the Maghreb all the way to Indonesia, that is a massive population. It's 1/5 of the world's population want this, and that's just from within the Muslim community, let alone what...
Sorry, they want what? They want the rule of law?
They want, but I'm saying that they want Islam or the religion to be a part of their life in terms of governance and in terms of their daily living routine. And I think that's a choice that we should respect. The problem is we have not respected that for the past 100 or so years.
Now, what do you think about the desire to unite Muslim peoples into one Islamic caliphate and one central point, I suppose, of rule of law, and that law being Sharia? Do you see that as a possibility?
I mean, I think right now the way that we're seeing how the Muslim communities around the world are developing, I mean, especially, I think the Arab Spring has given Muslims a lot to think about. You have different phenomena emerging in each country, and it's very, very different from place to place. So what's happening in Tunisia under Rashid al-Ghanouchi is very, very different to what's happening in Egypt under now the Muslim Brotherhood and the An-Noor party. So I think what we're seeing is that the kind of statements that were made previously, and a lot of Muslims will agree, generally speaking, with the concept of the Muslims uniting together, that the re-establishment of a caliphate. I mean, these are very kind of orthodox positions that people have always held. But what is the substance of those positions? How does that formulate in terms of the modern world? And we're going to be watching Muslims all over the world, what's happening in Tunisia, what's happening in Egypt, what's going to happen in Libya as they try and organize themselves better with a lot of interest, because these guys are going to actually, for the first time, really have the authority to try and, in a normative way, balance up what the Islamic law, what the Sharia requires of us as Muslims, alongside living in a Western, in a modern world.
What does your ideal system look like? Is it common law, Sharia law, some amalgam between the two?
Well, these are big questions, and we mostly deal with the issue of people detained without charge or trial and stick to it. We don't really. That's not part of our remit. Is not solving the world's problems. But speaking on a personal level, I think this is the great fear. When they talk about this system of the caliphate, everybody gets terrified. But in essence, what would it be? It would be a union of countries where they all speak Arabic. For goodness sake, if in Europe, where we've got 50 different languages, and people are trying to come together and have no states and one monetary union and so
well,
forth.
they're trying to introduce the European Union, which has caused me a bit of grief, actually.
Of course it has. Of course it has. Yes, and extradition warrants which allow people to be moved in freely, yes.
I'm not sure big super states are actually the way to go.
Right. It's not necessarily to be a but here the difference, I mean, what I'm talking about is what links Morocco to Iraq? What are the links? Cultural and most important, language.
Yes.
Everybody, you know, you can go to Morocco and speak Arabic, and every country right in between. There is something, and that's a unique fabric of a society. And what separates us in Europe is the language. It's primarily language.
Yes.
And so you've already got that there, and because historically it used to be there before. And if you look at the countries,
right, but I mean they already speak Arabic. So
right.
What would be the new thing?
So what would be new is the unity would not be based upon their own personal nationalism, and this would be the difference, because that's what used to be like before. Their nationalism has only been instilled after somebody came along and on a map of Africa drew a line and said, you're Libyan, you're Algerian, you're so-and-so. If they are able to return to, in the modern context, of course, to something that allows that sort of unity, it would give them a great deal of strength. And I think that's where the worry is in terms of the West, is that we will have another powerhouse here established at our southern doorstep that we don't want.
Now, what about what type of rule of law would you envisage?
Well, I mean, look,
I'm not talking about that is actually practical to implement now. I mean, that if you were Allah for a day, what would you do?
We don't really use those terms of reference, but Islam is a normative legal system, just like any other. We have effectively statute and case law like any other normative legal system anywhere in the world. And so for us, there is a rule of law that we have to follow. You know, in many ways, some of the complaints that you'll often hear about the way that Islam is implemented, or the Sharia is implemented, is the fact that it totally goes against what the rule of law requires from the Sharia, from the normative legal system itself. So, for example, you know, when you consider the issue of stoning for adultery, the requirement, the evidentiary standard, is 4 live witnesses to the act of sexual relations at the time that it's taking place. From an evidentiary perspective, it's almost impossible to establish that unless it's some kind of party that's gone a little bit weird. You know, it's very, very difficult to establish that criteria. So the fact that you have
but the punishment,
stoning
to death.
Yeah, the fact that you have the punishment even taking place means that effectively the rule of law is being abused at some point, because it's impossible to establish that evidentiary standard.
But you would agree with stoning to death for adultery?
I mean, the whole point is that was never envisaged, really.
But I mean, you would agree?
I agree with Islamic concepts of how we practice our punishments, okay, generally speaking, what they are. Whether or not they're even
I think, Julian, what's a really important point in all this?
I think it's important. So,
sure.
Cage, well, the difference between cage prison is your personal opinion. I accept that.
This is purely my own personal opinion.
Purely your personal opinion is that the death penalty is okay.
From an Islamic perspective, yes, as long as all the due process elements are met, then it can be, depending on if all the elements are there.
I think that, you know, what happens is when people discuss Sharia, it's everybody discusses crime and punishment, or the punishment, the hudud. So what we're talking about here is the hudud, the punishment aspect. That's not Sharia. The Sharia is the law.
And that's the whole rule of law process.
Right, it's the whole process.
Which is what I want to get at.
Yeah. And none of us are really sort of qualified to talk about it in the way that it should be discussed in terms of a country establishing itself and formulating these rules. And primarily because no country has applied them since the fall of the Caliphate of the Ottomans. So it's in essence a theoretical discussion. That's something that we have to develop.
Do you think this, you go back to the Ottomans and the Ottoman Caliphate, that the absence of an Islamic state that most people would want to live in, it seems. Would you agree that there's not too many? Maybe Oman is it? I'm not sure.
Let me tell you a very interesting point. When the Caliphate was abolished, one of the first, the Ottoman Caliphate was abolished. One of the first people to advocate for it was Mohandas K. Gandhi, And the reason why is because he understood that this was something that was central to the fabric of Islamic history. And so I think the call for the establishment of a caliphate, or perhaps not even using that word, but a united Muslim bloc, is something that most people would want.
Don't you think Tunisians would go, we're Muslims, we're in Tunisia, we speak a bit of French, a bit of Arabic, and we want self-determination, and self-determination is best met by not palling up too much with Egypt, because the numbers in Egypt are much
think,
larger.
of course, that's, and the Arabs have attempted it. They've tried to do the different organizations of just Arab unity, but this goes beyond Arab unity, and this is, I'm talking about Islamic unity, which includes Turks, it includes Iranians, it includes Pakistanis and Indonesians. It's huge, it's massive.
But why have unity?
Well, why would Europe want unity? The whole point of unity,
I think the reason Europe wanted unity actually was set up by the United States to make the United States of Europe that would be economically powerful enough in order to combat the Soviet Union. That's why I think.
And I think that the reason.
And now it's a trade bloc.
Right. The reason for unity would probably be economics, of course, defense, of course, and harking back to a history where you could travel from one point to the other unhindered, because you're a citizen of this land, and that this land isn't divided based upon colonial principles.
So you get a Muslim passport.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
But I mean, just the same way as you have in Europe, you have the ability to travel within Europe and very, very freely. Part of your own nation.
And you have a right to work in any country.
Right.
Possibly.
Very interesting.
We'll see.
Okay, so now let's come back to cage prisoners. There's all sorts of things to do in life. Why are you doing cage prisoners? Nassim?
I'm supposed to be a corporate lawyer, so I find myself changing quite radically. But, I mean, seeing Guantanamo, seeing indefinite detention without charge in the UK, seeing the Extradition Act, all of these things culminate in telling you, well, actually, the law is being abused here, and for a very specific purpose. And all of that kind of convinced me that I needed to be involved with something that was working against these policies. And cage prisoners it's an important voice for Muslims. It's an empowering voice. It's one that we hope tells Muslims that you can actually stand up for yourself. You can stand up for the right thing without feeling as if you're doing something criminal.
I think for me it's obvious. It's part of something that I've been affected by, something that I am constantly, even if I didn't want to do it, I'd be affected by it to this day. So it's something that I think people will say that it's something called survivor's guilt, that you will survive a particular trauma, but other people left in that situation are not surviving, so you have an obligation upon yourself to fight for them. I feel I have a not just a moral and religious, but also a duty based upon my own personal experience and ability. If I know I can do it, then I have to do it, and I think I can do it.
Turn on my audio, turn off the desktop audio, bring our video back, and bring back our chat. Pretty relevant video considering what's going on in Afghanistan right now, right? Very... what a time to watch it, right? Because in Afghanistan right now, the government has switched over, and from what I understand, even Wikipedia has changed the name of the government of Afghanistan to the Islamic, I forget what it is, Islamic government of Afghanistan or whatever it is they're saying, right? So they put Islamic in front of it. So that is going to stay in Afghanistan. No one's going to touch Afghanistan for a very, very long time, right? So that's another state, another country that just became in my opinion, very extremism, right? Fanaticism, but Sharia law, right? Saudi Arabia is one. In terms of Islamic governments, Iran is one, but that is moderate. Like in Iran, if you come out as a transgender, the Iranian government will actually pay for your sex change operation because it's considered to be okay to do, right? You do that in Saudi Arabia, your head gets chopped off. You do that in Afghanistan now, your head gets chopped off, right? Or yeah, I think so, right? In Saudi Arabia for sure, they chop off the heads, right? In Afghanistan, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Most likely executed, right? So there are different states that take the Sharia law to different levels, right? Just like there are different countries that take Christianity to different levels. Okay. Someone mentioned that the divide between the East and the West, or whatever it was religion. But I think it's economic as well. One of the things that exists in Sharia law is there is no concept of interest. You cannot charge interest. So the banking system, the Western banking system that we have right now, would not function in countries where they are governed under Islamic law. Now, just to come out and say this, I'll say this straight up. I wouldn't live in a country that was governed under religious laws. I would get the F out, because I think that leads to fanaticism. I refuse to abide by religious dictates, right? To me, that's totalitarianism, and I don't live in a totalitarian. I don't want to live in a totalitarian state, right? So there were a couple of points made there, which is I think is important, and that is people of a region should decide what government, what type of system they want to live under. Okay. And they brought out the Lochi, how you doing? The people being interviewed by Julian Assange, they mentioned, and by the way, one of the people that was being interviewed by Julian Assange was a prisoner in Guantanamo Bay, right? And we did the Guantanamo Bay file readings. There's three leaks that WikiLeaks put out that we did soft-spoken readings for. One of them was Vault 7, extremely important reading, Year 0, Vault 7. The other one was the Gitmo files, which is this one contains, and the other one was a collateral murder that we did the reading for. Or what was the other one that we did the reading for? I forget now, right? Sleepyways. Are there points that they would personally like to see the Middle East all unite under Sharia law? They would, right? It's not going to happen. The only problem with the country democratically selecting government is that the US won't allow it. Indeed, Lochi. They did it in Palestine. They held elections in Gaza Strip. Hamas got in, and then all the Western world goes, no, you can't put these people in power. Which, like, wait a second, they won like by 80%, legitimate elections, right? What the hell, right? That's the kicker. Democracy, Western democracy, is not really democracy. It's totalitarianism. Do it our way, or we scorch earth, right? That's a bully, right? They did in Venezuela. Indeed, I was going to mention Venezuela as well. Sleepy waves, right? They've done in many countries. They did it in 1954 in Iran with Mossadegh coming in. Iran, 1954, right? They held elections, democratic elections, by all accounts, legit, more legit than the elections in the Western world. Now, more legit than elections in the Western world that are taking place right now. They held elections in Iran 1954. Democratic elections. Mossadegh came into power. The first thing he did was nationalize the oil. What did they do? It wasn't 1954. He might have come in 1952 or something. But in 1954, the CIA and the UK Secret Service, they conducted a coup in Iran, and overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran and instill put in the Shah, a brutal dictatorship, right? So they don't really care about democracies. Dot Manan, thank you very much for the follow. The faucet. The East see the whole as the whole. The West concentrate as what is good for the singular, only from what I understand spiritually. That's an interesting way of putting it. Steve with Chycho, what was the bit in the video about Gaddafi? You mean Gandhi or Gaddafi? Gaddafi did amazing stuff for Libyans. Gaddafi in Libya had the high standard. Libya had the high standard of living in all of Africa. Free education. Everybody, there was barely any homelessness from what I understand. If you got married and you're going to start a family, the government gave you $25,000 to buy a house. Water, clean water, some of the most amazing water pipelines the world has ever seen. Gold reserves up the yin yang, right? Gaddafi at the time was trying to bring a gold-backed African currency. That's one of the reasons he was taken out, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And by the way, the whole Muslim world knows this, right? Knows what the West has been doing, right? This is only going to intensify, right? This is only going to intensify. The one thing I was going to mention regarding they mentioned that there was a caliphate under the Ottoman Empire, right? The Young Turks kicking into the Ottoman Empire, kicking the Young Turks, right? Tag teaming each other. In Turkey, they had a Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, right? Now, that empire did not really follow Sharia law. In pretense it did, but it was the same thing as the Western world in terms of democracy, right? They say democracy, everybody equal, but they're not, right? Those who rule over everyone else, right? Under the Ottoman Empire, they committed genocide against the Armenians. They brutalized nations, right, and peoples. Go to Romania, they detest the Ottoman Empire occupations. Greece, go anywhere where the Ottoman Empire had their tentacles in. Those peoples hated the Ottoman Empire, right? Because they could try to commit genocide and they brutalized the people, right? So just because some of these people come out and say, academics come out and say, oh, this is what the law would be like, then it's not going to work out that way. Look at like this person said, oh, stone an adulteress to death, right? You need 4 people that come out and say, yes, we saw them do it. Well, you could have 4 people lying. Look at what happened in the United States with the witch burnings, right? There were multiple people that came out, oh yeah, she's a witch, she's a witch, she's a witch, she's a witch. They burned innocent women at the stake, right? So there's a problem there where hearsay, like even in the Western world right now, hearsay evidence is not really taken to consideration, that much weight, right? Well, the legal system here is garbage anyway. It's completely corrupt, as we see happening with Julian Assange, right? That's my little rant regarding this thing. Ronnie, when things get complex, we lose transparency, like our election system. Yeah. Lochi, Chile. Yeah, here's a list of, with Pinochet, right? Here's a list of coups conducted by the CIA, right? Chile, Argentina, Nicaragua, Korea, Vietnam, many African countries, Venezuela, right? Venezuela, Bolivia, right? And these are just in the last 20 years, right? So that's the kicker, right? When the alternative that is telling people, the world, that we are the model that we should live by, and the world knows that these pieces of crap over here are responsible for millions of murders, right? Tens of millions of people being displaced, brutalizing nations, scorched earth mentality. People go, you know what, we want to try this, right? Let's try this one out because your system sucks. Dr. Skill, hi Chicho, hello, how are you doing? Elder God, majority vote. Majority rule I don't agree with either. Individual liberty, that's what it should be. The fastest sounds like everything in UK politics. Yeah, what are you guys talking about? We just watched one of the episodes from Julian Assange's The World Tomorrow, and it was a prisoner from Guantanamo Bay that was released after being tortured, being forced to sign a confession under torture, and it was discussion about Sharia law, Islam, why they did what they did, and went into that aspect of it. Sleepaway, it's very interesting that the US corporate media is only focusing on how terrible Taliban is and nowhere how the US made them so powerful. Yeah, US mainstream corporate propagandas are pure bullshit, gang. Like, it's like our education system now, it's like the healthcare system here now. It's healthcare system is actually at least has some kind of legitimacy here, right? Or used to. Okay, but the legal system here is extremely corrupt. If the system wants to screw you over, they will. The media is just mainstream corporate propagandists are just garbage. The only media that people should, in my opinion, consuming are independent journalists that are providing information, or newscasters, or people like Action for Assange that have their heart and soul in it, like the Duran, like the Gray Zone and stuff like this, right? Elder God, I was born on a day of a coup. It's on paper. I fight against one. Haha. I know the dates. Oh, wait a second. I think I know the date. I do know the date. Sleepaway Chicho, can you talk about how the US made the Taliban so powerful though? Sure, I can give you a little quick rundown. Spencer, what do you think should happen to the refugees? Which refugees? Chifo, the United States? Really? The obligation of the NATO countries, not just the United States, Canada as well. They should have planes lined up on the tarmac, and all the collaborators in Afghanistan, if we're talking about Afghanistan, should be getting on the plane, okay, and flown to one of these Western countries, that NATO countries that invaded and occupied Afghanistan for 20 years, because we are by de facto committing murder by leaving them in Afghanistan because they were collaborators with an occupying force. Okay, we broke it, we own it. I don't give a rat's ass what people are in the Western world are saying. Oh, the refugees are coming in. The refugees came in because a lot of the places we annihilated their countries. We did scorched earth. At one point, 25%, I ran the numbers in the mid 2000s, 25% of the world's population, world's refugees were from Afghanistan and Iraq, and they were there because NATO invaded them, destroyed their countries. Of course we own it. Okay, of course we own it. Those people who are so gung-ho to say refugees bad, they come into our country, they're taking our jobs and stuff like this. Well, welcome, hello, dum-dums. You finally woke up. I know some people weren't around when this stuff was happening, but the Western governments continue to do this. They're still trying to wage wars in different places, right? And they still get support of the citizens. Those citizens who don't want refugees in their country, well, wake the F up. It's when the time to stop refugees coming into your country was when your leaders said, let's go to their country and bomb the crap out of them. You should have gone to whatever center of power that was dictating you guys, telling you guys to go kill people across the globe because they didn't like your freedom, and you should have taken those people out and thrown them out of office. That's the time to prevent refugees from coming into your country, not after you annihilate their country, kill their brothers and sisters. We're talking into hundreds of thousands, not millions, and then say, no, you have no right, this is my country now. Wait a second, how come it was their country was your country, right, when you invaded them and occupied them, but your country is not their country when you destroyed their homes and they got no place to live and put in dictators in power? The mental gymnastics people have to go through to justify their racism and idiot understanding of economics and politics and geopolitics and history is mind-boggling. once you witness this for a little while. Okay. Apologies about the rant, but the stupid factor of our society is showing its ugly face again, right? So we go a little hard, right? Oh, would there still be hope for Julian if he is extradited to the US, or would it be game over? It'd be game over, right? It's game over. Okay. Victrix. No, Dux Victrix. Chycho, what about all the military equipment that the US left behind on Afghanistan? It's safe to assume that is what was deliberate. Yeah, indeed. I think so too. Or only a transportation logistics issue. No, it would. The US administration is completely inept. They're garbage. Like, gang in the United States, you couldn't have, like, the worst administration in US history by leaps and bounds. The most inept, the most idiotic, the administration which I wouldn't give them to administer my car, right? These people, they're both stupid and dangerous at the same time, right? Yeah, I think they left it there on purpose. Some of them anyway. Some of them, I'm pretty sure they were desperately trying to get it out, but didn't realize that inside the United States there's different factions fighting each other, and some of them really want to create chaos. They left them there to make sure there's still a power to be reckoned with their neighbors. Okay. Name a boy. US media, US mainstream media is starting to expand. In a few weeks, there's going to be new channels here in Portugal called CNN Portugal. Who's gonna watch that? Clown world. And what saddens me is that the people here in my country are all going happy with this, saying that finally we will have serious journalism. Oh my God, are you kidding me? No, man, they really don't know what they are saying. No, they don't. I think it's more of a comedy show, just to tell you the truth, Lachi. Just wait until there are millions of environmental refugees. Indeed, and that's the Lachi 100 is 100% correct. The refugees you see now are nothing compared to the millions of refugees going to be created by changes taking place in the world right now in regards to droughts, famine, floods. Okay, some of this is by design. Okay. See, Chycho, I like the rant. It needs to be said. Some don't want to hear it. Sleepy waves. Too bad for them. I already see pictures of Taliban who are clearly holding US rifles. Oh yeah, the Taliban was initially armed by the United States in 1978. There was a attempted coup. Basically, it started in 1978, and then Russia came in to support the attempted coup. Like, basically, the United States tried to do to Afghanistan what they did in 1954, but more brutally. And then the Russians went in to support the government there, and the government became puppet. And then they started funding money into the Taliban and armed the crap out of them, the Islamic jihadists. There's videos of Brzezinski and on US officials talking to the Taliban came to the White House during the Reagan administration, and their headlines in the New York Times and stuff was, these are freedom fighters, right? Freedom fighters are freedom fighters, right? Like, comparing them to the revolution in the United States that fight for independence, right? These are freedom fighters in Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden, the main picture, right? Funded, supported, trained, weapons sent, money they had up the yin yang, weapons sent to Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. That's the same Al-Qaeda, Taliban, right? It wasn't Al-Qaeda then, but it was Taliban, right? Sending it there, Al-Qaeda connection, and then they grew up together, right? The government that's taken control of Afghanistan right now, that has been killing NATO forces, Americans, Canadians, British, all of these forces, Australian, were trained initially, funded, armed by the United States CIA. Fact. Everybody should know this by now. I don't know why some people don't, right? President dementia. A president with dementia. What a time to be alive. Maddie Gigi, how are you doing? Sleepaway Chicho. Just going back to my question, how did the US make the Taliban? Oh, I just went through it really Speedy Gonzales style. There's a lot more to it, of course, but that's the Speedy Gonzales style about it. Thanks for the reminder, Sleepy Waves. I wonder what Trump would have done. Trump already signed and did the deal, right? May 1st they were going to go out. It was going to be orderly. They were going to take all the equipment out. This administration wanted to make the pullout on September 11th. Just imagine the slap on the face of Americans when September 11th was the reason the excuse they gave to invade and occupy Afghanistan, and they were going to pull out as losers on September 11th. The Biden administration came out and said, and then they realized this wasn't flying too well, so they said at the end of August, right? Horrendous. The one and only Sarge, I find it hilarious that the US gives the Taliban weapons, all while trying to unarm Americans and banning and arresting people for having a piece of rubber on their rifle and a certain trigger type. It's so pathetic and stupid indeed, and people stand for this, right? People just don't know their history. Centralized education, welcome, Ronnie. It's because there is something that powerful people in the US want there. The CIA created Al Qaeda. Yeah, 100%. See what Chicho, during the Reagan administration, why did they give the Taliban so much weapons? Why were they training them? Because Russia was occupying Afghanistan, and many people would agree that Afghanistan was Russia's Vietnam and one of the catalysts that collapsed the Soviet Union, right? So Russia was occupying Afghanistan, and the CIA was arming Afghanis to kill as many Russians as possible, because the United States wanted into Afghanistan, because they wanted into Eurasia, as Brzezinski wrote in the 1970s his book The Grand Chessboard, right? Absolutely 100%. Without a doubt, though, just venting because US imperialism disgusts me. Yeah, everybody really, gang. So gang, we got about half an hour, but I don't think we got enough time to watch another one and discuss it. Interesting. This is just what we watched yesterday and today. These episodes that Julian Assange put out through RT, because no Western mainstream media would carry this. No way, no how. So they went through RT, put out these amazing discussions with revolutionaries, hacktivists, cypherpunks, some of the great thinkers, leaders of countries, of nations, opposition, right? They put this stuff out to talk about what was important in our societies in 2012 and where it was taking us. And amazing discussions. You will not find anything like this on any Western media sources on this level, this direct, right? This is the type of information that is missing from our dialogue, right, Ronnie? I think we should try to have a peace talk with the Taliban by introducing them to Chycho's comic on the stream. I don't think they would like it. I don't think they would like it. I'd probably be sitting in jail, which that's the reason I would never live in a if I could help it, in an Islamic republic or a religious republic or a purely Christian republic, right? Afghanistan, the empire breaker. Yeah, Afghanistan destroys empires. That's where empires go to die. And man, what a death this is for the United States. Holy embarrassment. China's already come out and said to Taiwan, coming out and saying, don't trust the United States as a partner, because they will leave you hanging high and dry when the time comes. And they are 100% correct. The United States has proven that they are not reliable allies, right? There's only a couple of nations that still are standing while they've been allies with the United States. In my opinion, one of them is going to fall soon, within the next few years possibly, or at least change. Ronnie, I think we should Try to have a P. I read that. They asked Chycho, how can we obtain the Superman power? I don't think the slanty clad women in comic books and whatnot would fly too well, or the guys in tights. Cheryl, Cheval Noir and the Taliban. Yeah, probably not a good mix. No. Like really doing these Cheval Noir the stuff I've done online, that limited my ability to travel to a huge chunk of the world, and some of the politics that I've talked, that limited my ability to travel to a huge chunk of some other parts of the world, right? And the economics and stuff like this, which is one reason I haven't left my locality for almost 20 years now, right? Spencer, do you see the American empire falling anytime soon? It's going to fall within, it's already fallen, it's just it's going to take a while for it to ripple, right? How long does an empire take to ripple? Roman Empire took a long time for the ripple to pass through. It peaked a couple of hundred years before it fell, really. The United States is not going to be a couple of hundred years, right? United States just got kicked out of Eurasia. The magnitude of that is huge. Okay, the UK needs to the UK is a puppet regime right now. Until the UK releases Julian Assange, it cannot be considered to be a country. It is just a garbage run by fanatics, oligarchs that don't give a rat's about rule of law, citizens of the UK or anything. You're just a satellite nation right now, not even a nation. Okay, the UK is nothing right now until they free Julian Assange, and if they hand over Julian Assange, UK is done. That's it. It's the British, the United Kingdom is over, man, over. Okay, no name boy. USA are literally Stone Cold Steve Austin, the wrestler from the 90s. They arrive, they raise hell, and they leave. No, Stone Cold Steve Austin had morals, he had style, and he didn't do scorched earth, right? Because it's wrestling, first of all. Takes a lot to do, but there was no scorched earth. The US, no, there is no one that comes to my mind in the wrestling world that would resemble the United States, right? Because the United States has its hands are so bloody for so long that you would do anyone injustice to compare them to it. You cannot. Maddie Gigi, I think there are people who are fighting to save it, but we need more. Ronnie, you think China will replace the US as the most dominant? Yeah. Power is moving towards China. It's already there in large part, huge chunks of the world. Just look at the world map and where the United States had huge investments, the most investments in those countries from 20 years ago, and take a look at the same world map and who has the most amount of investments in those countries now. China has taken over most of the world now in terms of economic investment. Now, China is still fragile in my opinion, okay, because I think they're underestimating the scorched earth mentality of those that run the Western world. They are brutal, and China is brutal as well, but China doesn't have that brutality instilled in them over multiple decades to actually commit genocide outside of their control zones. The United States does, right? What the United States has done for the last few decades is unbelievable. Africa is huge. They and the Western world with the UK and Canada, they destroyed the country that by a long shot had the highest standard of living in all of Africa. Okay, if you consider, for example, in Europe, right? Let's take Europe. Some people would say Switzerland has the highest standard of living in all of Europe, but Switzerland is not part of the euro in large part, but let's include it, right? That would be equivalent to Muslim countries, okay, going and destroying Switzerland. But the impact of destroying Switzerland will not be as great as the impact that destroying Libya had on Africa. The best equivalent would be if the world or certain countries in the world went and bombed, destroyed Germany, right? Raised Germany to the ground to a level where there was slave open markets, right? Just imagine what that effect would have to Europe. That is the effect that destroying Libya had on Africa. Okay, people, like the devastation, you can't count it. Oh, in terms of military power in shipping, yeah, China is coming in hard, man, hard. Okay, UK is run by morons, psychopaths, really. Spaceman, what would you say was the peak of the American Empire? The peak of the American Empire was the 1990s. Okay, that was the peak of the American Empire. After that, it started going downhill because it had to lash out, and early 2000s as well, because the military might have the support of the world. 9/11, look at this bad thing that happened, right? People didn't question it, and people supported the invasion of Afghanistan, and within a couple of years it became clear that this was a disaster for anyone that was paying attention, and for those that really understood what was going on, they knew it was disaster from the get-go, right? Sleeping with Chycho, now that the US is out of the Middle East, it's not out of the Middle East, how do you think the US will get oil and resources? US has lots of resources and lots of connections still. US is out of Eurasia. Okay, the only presence they have in Eurasia is through, well, the ones I know of anyway, India and Pakistan. But Pakistan, they're slowly going to lose that dominance as well. Okay, so mainly India. Okay, good music, fantastic music, fantastic comic books, fantastic writers, some great thinkers. There's so much amazing stuff. The Undertaker, the Undertaker had morals. Did you watch the documentary on the Undertaker? Elder God, fantastic documentary. There's a, by the way, gang, there's a documentary on the Undertaker. Man, full respect to the Undertaker. I didn't know what he had to go through, right? Lark Bark, Stone Cold Steve Austin is anti-establishment and an anarchist that fought for the blue-collar working class and labor. Oh hell yeah. Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin was fun, right? No Name Boy, oh my bad, I shouldn't have disrespected Stone Cold like that. I'm trying again. The US is Vince McMahon. No, Vince was pretty good, man. He treated Vince treated his fighters really well, from what I understand, man. Like the Undertaker documentary showed me a side of Vince McMahon that I didn't know, right? But he treated his people very well. The United States does not treat American citizens well, not even close, right? Sleepy Waves. Chycho, what was the government people in power in Afghanistan when the US first entered? When the US first entered, it was Taliban. But look into what Afghanistan was like. Look at the pictures of what Afghanistan was like in the 1970s, before the United States tried to overthrow that government. There were women walking around without headgear. It was very Western. They had mini skirts on, right? This is what the United States began, right? Because the government in Afghanistan at the time was communist, and communism did not have connection to religion, right? So all of a sudden it was about education, and they centralized stuff. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in that kind of centralized system, but they centralized stuff, and it was about liberation to a certain degree, right? So there were women walking around, no headgear, mini skirts, high heels, and stuff like this. And then the United States decided to start arming religious fanatics, right? U.S. is the largest oil exporter, believe it or not. A gas exporter, Ronnie. United States is actually importing oil from Russia now. Okay, buying oil from Russia. They got a lot of gas, right? Not enough oil. And the fracking stuff is garbage. Okay. From what I understand, anyway, I might have my numbers wrong, but I'm geophysics. Sometimes I get them flipped, right? Spencer, if you've heard of the Caspian Report, yeah, I do. What do you think of that channel? I've watched the Caspian Report a little bit in the beginning when they were really small, right? But Caspian Report, he's based in Azerbaijan, right? And he can't tell the whole truth. Anything regarding Azerbaijan, he can't do it because he'd be thrown in jail, okay? Or Turkey, he'd be thrown in jail. So he spews a fair bit of propaganda in regards to Azerbaijan and Turkey and stuff like this, and he is wrong on certain things. I've caught him being wrong on a few things that he's been saying. It's not bad, but take everything the Caspian Report says with a grain of salt, and don't trust anything he says regarding Armenia, Azerbaijan, or Turkey, or Turkmenistan, anything related to the Turkish countries, or even Iran. The place where I found him saying the wrong stuff was in regards to Iran, because there's an Iranian or Azerbaijan zone, right? I haven't watched the Caspian Report for a couple of years now. Okay. I was finding too many flaws in the reporting. There was some good stuff, but there were some flaws. Ronnie, I'm curious for what's going to happen surrounding this impending war game between the US and China centered around Taiwan. We'll see. We'll see. Elder God, I've been training my chill. What did you do? The Elder God, The Undertaker. Yeah. Have you watched the documentary? Elder God, have you watched The Undertaker? Man, full respect. Watch that documentary. Well worth it. Makes you realize what you got to do to be legendary, right? Facet. What do you think of SpaceX being a fake? I've watched a lot of footage and it's dubious. I think SpaceX, the rockets are definitely going up there. I think Elon Musk is fake. Like, that's my take. Sleepy waves. Did the US feel threatened by the communist government in the 70s from Afghanistan? Yeah, they had this. There's a whole faction in the United States that they had this domino thing saying, oh, if any countries become communist, it'll just become domino, it'll take over the world, which was really fear-mongering. But there were certain aspects of the US government that actually believed that, but they were mainly the ones that really had a grander picture in mind. They were just using this communist threat to overthrow governments, do covert operations, take over regions, and all this jazz. It was just a card they were playing. That's all, right? I still believe Russia are eyeing Afghanistan for more than commodities, but in more feeling than anything I can see. Elder God, I agree with you. Russia is going to start doing serious deals with Afghanistan, serious deals, and Russia, okay, the connection with Afghanistan goes to Pakistan and India, right? So that seals the deal. Afghanistan was a cancer. The occupation of Afghanistan by NATO forces was a cancer in the middle of Eurasia, right? Now that the cancer has been removed, okay, they can possibly heal all the nations together and see what it can bring about. Unfortunately, the United States left a shitload of taxpayer-funded weapons in Afghanistan, so the Taliban is armed to the teeth again. Okay, I mean, it's within reason, right? So they can create a lot of damage if the CIA, the covert operatives, go in there again and try to create a little bit of chaos. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think the Taliban will ever deal with the United States or any of the NATO forces in any positive light. Okay, I think who the Taliban is going to do deals with is China, Russia, and Iran. Okay, and Pakistan is going to fall under the umbrella of the Taliban in large part. There's going to be infiltration in there, and Pakistan, the United States, the West is slowly going to lose influence over Pakistan, which is huge, 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 because Pakistan is a nuclear nation, which is, I think that is planned, and that is planned to introduce a little bit of threat to India, so it can bring India closer to the United States, right? Because India's natural ally, if you want to call it natural ally, is Pakistan and China, right? So one of the reasons they did this, they realized they had lost all that. So what they're doing is creating chaos here, so they can scare India into moving closer to the United States, right? Don't even think about joining with China and whatnot. No, I will find it immediately. Awesome, Elder God. Was Armenia being supported by Iran? Armenia and Iran and Russia, they have very close ties. Armenia has very close ties with Iran and Russia. Natural allies, Armenia and Iran, and Armenia and Russia. Okay, that is the only thing that is keeping Armenia still a nation, and that is the only thing that is keeping the Armenian people alive in that region. Because if that didn't exist, Turkey and Azerbaijan would have already committed genocide on every Armenian that's living there. Okay, they have done in the past, and they will try to do it again. Facet, thanks for taking time to answer my question, Chycho. It's really awesome. My pleasure, Facet. This is my perspective. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research. I get my dates wrong, I get my people wrong, I get names wrong and stuff like this. So I'm just giving you sort of a grander, larger picture of what I've followed for a number of decades, the best as I can, right? Joe Chycho, you could see the Starlink satellites pass over when they were first being launched. Yeah, SpaceX is functional. It's Pentagon. SpaceX is Pentagon. It's Pentagon, right? How Russia might just want their AK-47s back. Haha. I'm pretty sure Russians are going in there, and right now with the Taliban, they're going to be taking a look at all the weapons that the United States left. Now, if this was planned, the United States, I'm assuming they didn't leave too many high-tech weapons there. If this wasn't planned, if this was a debacle, one of the grandest debacle there ever was, right, in global geopolitics, and high-tech military weapons have been left behind. Not that U.S. military is Russian military, some of the high-tech stuff they have there blows away the American military, right? But I'm pretty sure the Taliban is hooking up with the Russians and the Chinese military, and they're going in there, and they will be taking a look at these weapons to see if there's anything useful in there, right? No name boy, Chycho, did you see that Biden nominated an Armenian genocide denier for U.S. ambassador in Turkey? No, I didn't know this. What the hell? Biden's garbage. A piece of turd would have governed the United States better than this whole administration. Really, all you needed was 2 turds, right? And literally, one of the things that might save the United States of America, it'll never happen, right? But if people in the United States of America decided that they will never ever again hold elections, right, and appoint oligarchs in power, they will just go into the database of American citizens, 330 million people, at random pick people to put in power, right? At random. The United States will run more efficiently, better. It will be better for American citizens, and maybe in about 30, 40, 50 years, the United States might become economically important to a level where they're actually producing something other than copyrighted stuff and patented stuff, where it's all in the hands of Wall Street and military grade stuff and destroying things, right? Randomly just pick American citizens to become president, secretary of state, fill in Congress, fill in this, fill in that, fill in that. Really, that would be the best choice. AOC piece of crap. AOC is garbage, just pure garbage, lying, just lies, cheats, just says shit which is just unbelievable, goes back on promises made. AOC is I think of AOC what Jimmy Dore thinks of AOC. Cheryl, of course they did. High tech and hard drives were probably pulled the day after the accelerated plan was announced. Probably, that's my guess. But Cheryl, is the US government as dysfunctional as it appears to be? If it is, and if it was this, it wasn't planned, man, what a disaster for the United States of America. I would have done that first. The fraud squad, the fraud squad. Joe Chycho, there was a video that came out last week of AOC sitting with a big group of friends. Yeah, I saw that with the mask on the steps, putting on the mask for a picture and then taking it off. Haha, chit-chatting. What do you do with that? With friends and masks. And then when someone wanted to take a photo, she quickly put it on and then took it off again immediately after. Yeah, like really, these people, the fraud squad, have been supporting locking down, okay, citizens of the United States and destroying their businesses, impoverishing Americans, right? What do you do with someone that doesn't give a rat's ass to that level? That has a cult following her? What do you do? Full of drama, AOC. I figured it was a one-time try. Cheryl says. Ronnie, AOC never sounds genuine, like when someone just yells with fake emotions. Yeah, AOC is traitor and with no principles and moral values. I agree with Lark Bark. Yeah. Rank, AOC knows how to use social media to her advantage, manipulate young people into liking her, and that's the kicker, right? Why is she allowed to do that? Because of our current centralized education system is pure garbage. If people want their children to be educated and not be cannon fodder and fools, right, to understand what's going on in the world, you need to educate your children. That means at this point in time, you can't educate in a centralized education system. The best they could hope for is to be a cult member of the AOC fanatics, right? Cheryl, I don't know about the government, but know enough military leaders to know they wouldn't leave it up to chance unless ordered not to. Ah, yeah, maybe they were ordered to leave it, right? So by the way, Cheryl, I'd be curious to see if anybody's going to take any blame for this. Or are they going to turn some of the military generals and stuff like this as scapegoats and say, oh, they have to resign, they have to resign, they have to resign? I'd be curious, really. This is one that just blows my mind. Like, they did what? Wow. Maybe it was they brought in all the old equipment because they needed to. It was just Wall Street scam, right? They needed to write it off on the balance sheets, right? Maybe that's what they did, right? There would have been a few $1 billion worth of stuff there. Maybe they needed to balance the books for Wall Street, right? You know, they gotta report their Securities and Exchange every quarter. No name boy. I think we need to have people from all walks of life on the government. 90% of politicians all come from law or economics. We need to start having people in power that are also teachers, artists, scientists, etc. 100% agree. Pull it at random, and not only teachers, artists, scientists. We need to have carpenters in there, right? We need to have people that what do you call it, forestry people on there, right, that look are stewards of the environment, right? Not just, and we need to have ice cream truck drivers in there. We need to have people in government that know what the struggles of the working class are, right? Of people are, right? Not multi-millionaires. That is the most idiotic concept of a government that I've ever heard of. Oh, take the most powerful people in a country and give them more power. How is that logical? What kind of an idiotic model is this, right? Lionel Messi is the very definition of a government employee. I don't know who that is. Who is that? Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi. Who's Lionel Messi? I don't know Lionel Messi. I really hope PSG gets knocked out early on the Champions League before four politicians polling. Hilarious. Gang, we're up to 2 hours. Let's call it a stream. Fantastic 6 live stream set. Oh, you're talking about Messi, Lionel Messi, like Messi the player, soccer player. Is the very definition of government employee. Messi is a great player, by the way. Wow. He's fantastic. Argentinian player. Who's he playing for right now? Messi is he playing for Milan? I believe most of the, thank you, my pleasure, CCP or engineers around 90%. Oh really? Wow. Is there another stream tomorrow? No stream tomorrow. We just did 6 streams in 3 days. I just did 12 hours of streaming in 3 days, man. That's a lot. Oh, don't go chycho. We just started. Lark bark. Awesome. Gang, I'm gonna need a few days break just to get caught up with everything we've done. I have a whole bunch of videos that I haven't even, segments that I haven't even uploaded to the video sharing platforms. I haven't even uploaded the comic book grading ones that we uploaded because I haven't had time to post stuff on eBay. So I want to do it at the same time. I might not even post it. I might just upload those videos and just in the description say, anybody wants to make me an offer for any of these comics that we graded, send me an offer. Let's see where we go, right? So maybe we do it that way. So give me a few days to get caught up. I'll be on Discord, chatting it up and sharing information as much as I can. He plays for Paris Saint-Germain. He's playing for Paris Saint-Germain now. Wow. Best player in the world at soccer, leaves his childhood club as they couldn't afford him. Yeah. Isn't Ronaldo considered the best player in the world, or is it Messi? Is it still Messi? Joe chycho, apparently 8 of the 9 top Communist Party leaders studied engineering or natural sciences. Wow. The intelligence level in seriously, gang, last thing about governments, the caliber of politicians, those in government in certain countries, makes those in government in the Western world look idiotic, right? Idiotic. No loyalty at all, my opinion. Sometimes you gotta go, brother. Oh my god. Gang, aside from the closing or our closing, I am on Patreon if you want to follow this work. If you want to know what this work is about, patreon.com/chycho, CHYCHO. For those of you that are supporting this work on Patreon, gang, thank you very much for the support. I hope you're enjoying the content. I will continue to work my ass off and do you justice. Okay, we are live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/chycho live, CHYCHO LIVE. If you want to participate in the chat, Twitch is where you want to be at. And gang, thank you for being here. Thank you for the discussions. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for sharing information and mods. Thank you for taking care of business. We do announce these live streams 30 minutes before we go live on Minds, VK Gap, Parlor, BitClout, and Getter. And we do have a Discord page. You can come to our chat anytime you want and type in !Discord, and the link will pop up there. We don't have to be live streaming for you to do this. The link will pop up there. You're welcome to join us there and share information and participate in discussions. Joe chycho, is this the last of the series of live streams? Yeah, this is the last of the series. I'll announce the next set of live streams probably towards the end of this week. Maybe next weekend I'll announce it, and then we'll start doing them next week. It was fun stream. Thank you. My pleasure. For live streams, when we don't have any visuals, we do upload the audio to soundcloud.com/chycho as a podcast, and those podcasts should be available on your favorite podcasting platform, including Spotify and iTunes. And we will be uploading this live stream to CensorTube, to BitChute, to Rumble, and to Odyssey. And gang, Cheryl, thanks, Chycho, thanks for great discussion, everyone. Yeah, indeed, everyone, thank you for the great discussion. And gang, don't forget, free Assange, free Assange, free Assange. Julian Assange is a publisher and journalist that is being crucified for trying to bring transparency and accountability of capitalist power to humanity. For more information, see wikileaks.org, defend.wikileaks.org, or our Julian Assange on WikiLeaks playlist on CensorTube. Free Assange, everyone. Bye for now.